Hey guys, we are on day 101 in our Bible reading plan, and we are in the book of Samuel. We're reading chapters 13 and 14 today. So chapter 13 starts off with an account of Saul as king and him fighting against the Philistines. And we're going to read in chapter 13 that Saul decides, because his army is afraid and is going to scatter, that he doesn't have time to wait for Samuel to arrive and offer the sacrifice and seek the Lord on his behalf. So he goes ahead, he makes the offering, he waits 7 days, the time when Samuel said he would be there, and then goes ahead and makes this offering or sacrifice. And Samuel arrives and says, "You should not have done that because you did this, because you have not obeyed the Lord's commands. Your kingdom will not endure." And he has chosen another to lead his people. He has already chosen a man after his own heart. And so we have this sense right here at the beginning of chapter 13 that Saul is no longer God's chosen king to lead his people. And yet Saul continues to lead them. He continues to go to war with the Philistines. We read that Israel doesn't have any weapons as they're fighting the Philistines, that only Saul and Jonathan have weapons. And then in chapter 14, we read this account of Jonathan leaving the camp and going down and attacking the Philistines. At the same time, Saul is getting ready to seek the Lord again. He is beginning to ask them to bring out the ark. And when he sees the result of Jonathan's attack, that the Philistines are scattering, he doesn't consult the Lord in that moment, and instead they go down and God gives them victory over the Philistines in that account. And then we read that Saul commits his soldiers to a fast, that none of them are going to be eating any food. He says, "Cursed is the man who eats food until I have victory over my enemies," but Jonathan's not in the camp. So we read an account that Jonathan eats honey, and we also read that after they've had success in battle, his men start slaughtering animals and eating them with the lifeblood in them. This vow that Saul has made has left his army so fatigued and hungry that they are just eating the animals with the lifeblood still in them. And so he's made aware of this, and he has all of his men bring oxen to sacrifice to the Lord to make atonement for that. And then he builds an altar to the Lord there. And then he tells the people, "Let us go down to battle." The people are like, "Sure, whatever you say." And the priest goes, "Wait, let's inquire of the Lord." So Saul inquires of the Lord, and the Lord doesn't answer. And Saul assumes that that is because someone has committed sin. And he says, he makes a vow, "Even if it's my son Jonathan, that person who has committed a sin in our camp will die." And they cast lots, and they discover it is in fact Jonathan that has eaten honey when Saul has made everyone not eat anything. And Jonathan isn't apologetic about it. He wasn't there to hear it, but also he thought it was a bad decision. And so the people rally around Jonathan. They make a case for his life. And it says that Saul doesn't kill Jonathan. He leaves at that point. And then we're told at the end of chapter 14, it says, "All of the days of Saul, there was bitter war with the Philistines. And whenever Saul saw a mighty or brave man, he took him into his service." So Saul never conquers the Philistines. God never gives him the victory over these enemies. And God has taken the kingdom from Saul. Someone else is going to lead his people, and he's already picked that person out. And so we have the sense that because Saul was more concerned with the people and his own fear of losing this war or this battle or his people, he acts out of fear instead of faith and jumps the gun ahead of God and ahead of waiting to fulfill the law and the commands of the Lord. And because he does that, he loses the kingdom. And then the things that he does after to try to make it better just seem to make it worse. And I just, as I was reading this today, I just so resonate with that idea that how many times in our lives do we, out of fear, instead of seeking the Lord, seek to make things better on our own and end up just making it worse or more complicated, when if we had just relied on the Lord and his timing and his plan and waited, we would have been either vindicated or God would have come through. But instead we made it so much more complicated. I know that's happened in my life as I look back. Hindsight is 20/20. And so my prayer today as I read this is just that I would have the faith to rely on God and His Word and trust in what He's doing and that He is at work, even when I can't see Him moving, even when the people around me are afraid or terrified, that I wouldn't let those things influence my faith and trust and reliance on the Lord. I hope that encourages you today. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this reading. Have a great day, guys.